The Battle of Ras Lanuf was a two-phase battle in 2011 during the Libyan Civil War between forces loyal to Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and those loyal to the National Transitional Council. Both forces sought control of the town of Ras Lanuf. The first phase followed 2 days after the First Battle of Braga, which occurred in the town Braga, roughly 130 kilometers to the east of Ras Lanuf. After conquering the town on 4 March, the rebels pushed further west to attack Sirte, but they were driven back by government forces, and on the 11th of March, government troops reconquered most of Ras Lanuf. The battle. First phase. According to the rebels, the loyalist forces used heavy weapons and helicopters to attack them 1 kilometer from the airport. One rebel reported seeing 4 men in front of him killed by an explosion. Rebels reported that there were defections from the local pro-Gaddafi military base in Ras Lanuf. Sometime during the night, rebel forces managed to capture the entire town of Ras Lanuf, including the airport and military base. Following the capture of the base, the rebels claimed to have found the bodies of 20 soldiers who were executed after they refused to open fire on rebel forces. In addition to the 20 mutinous soldiers who were reportedly executed, according to the rebels, various numbers of dead had been reported. 16 dead were reported on the rebel side, with 31 wounded, and 2 to 25 loyalists' ground troops were reportedly killed, in addition to 2 loyalist pilots. One Libyan Air Force jet bomber was reported to have been shot down outside Ras Lanuf on 5 March, by anti-Gaddafi rebels. Second phase. On 6 March, as the rebels were advancing from Ras Lanuf towards Sirte, they were ambushed by Gaddafi's troops at Bin Jawad and suffered heavy losses. After that, they made a hasty retreat toward Ras Lanuf, where they were bombarded for 4 days. During the next 3 days of constant air, tank and naval bombardment of the front lines at Ras Lanuf, 20 rebels were killed and at least 65 wounded. On 10 March, the BBC reported that troops loyal to Muammar Gaddafi had cleared rebels from Ras Lanuf. A rebel fighter told AFP news agency, "We've been defeated. They are shelling and we're running away. That means that they're taking Ras Lanuf." Gaddafi attacked the city with tanks and artillery from the west and the south. Ships fired upon the city from the north, while airplanes bombed the town. Rebel reinforcements from the east tried to enter the city, but were immediately attacked, and a rebel commander reported dozens of his fighters were killed and many others missing. Later that evening, most rebel forces had retreated from the town and were trying to set up a line of defense east of the city, while some hardcore opposition fighters were continuing to put up resistance in Ras Lanuf. 4 opposition fighters were confirmed killed during the fighting, 36 were wounded and 65 were missing. By the evening of 10 March, all major news media were reporting that the town had fallen, with large numbers of rebel fighters killed or captured. Despite her denial from the rebel-led council in Benghazi, the government claimed that an estimated 1,500 rebel fighters had been captured. After the battle, anti-Gaddafi fighters advised civilians to leave the area around Braga in expectation of continuing advances by government forces. On the morning of the 11th of March, the first loyalist ground troops entered the town with 150 soldiers, backed up by 3 tanks, and managed to get to the city center. At the same time, 4 transport boats came in from the sea and unloaded 40 to 50 soldiers each on the beach near the Fadil Hotel. They were engaged by hardcore rebel remnants, who had not retreated from Ras Lanuf the previous day. Government troops captured the residential area, but the rebels continued to hold out in the oil port facilities for a few hours before they too retreated from Ras Lanuf east of the city. The town had fallen. However, in the afternoon, the rebels regrouped, mounted a counter-offensive and managed to expel the loyalist forces from the eastern part of the town. Government soldiers still held the western part of the city, and a stalemate soon developed. On 12 March, Rebels fighting in Ras Lanuf retreated in the afternoon to the town of Ukala west of Braga, and rebel leaders confirmed that pro-Gaddafi forces had driven them 20 kilometers out of the town and captured the oil refinery. Later during the day, the government took foreign journalists to the city for confirmation of the town's fall. Aftermath. After the battle, the town was firmly in loyalist hands and government troops advanced further east, taking the towns of Braga and Attribution, arriving to Benghazi. However, on the 19th of March, a military intervention by the UN started. The airstrikes by coalition aircraft pushed back government troops, which allowed the rebels to retake a string of towns. On the 27th of March, pro-Gaddafi forces in Ras Lanuf were observed retreating towards Sirte. This allowed the anti-Gaddafi forces to retake control of the city. However, this would not last, and once again, just 3 days later, government troops routed the rebels during a counter-attack from Ras Lanuf on the 30th of March, taking back the town. Anti-Gaddafi forces recaptured the city in August. But then on the 12th of September, at least 15 oil refinery guards were killed and 2 wounded by pro-Gaddafi fighters.